And now we'll get into the speakers. What I'd like to do first is introduce our moderator, Dr. Scott Schempp, and I'll turn it over to Scott. And he's going to introduce us to our speakers tonight.
So welcome to the WTF stage, Richard Mendola from Emory University.
Scott, let me first say we issue socks to our professors at Emory, so it's, just trying to fight back a little there. Yeah, you set us up good. So good evening, everybody. Happy to be here this evening. I'm going to try to talk a little bit about both our academic operations as well as our clinical operations, and just have a few slides for you to tee up the subsequent questions. So real quick, our brand probably isn't quite as well known as Delta or Home Depot. So let me just give you a quick overview of who we are as Emory. Overall, we've got about 23,000 employees, $3 billion budget, and an endowment that used to be bigger than that prior to the market downturn. On the university side, we're proud that we've consistently been ranked in the top 20, U.S. News and other ranking systems. Got about 13,000 students, about 4,300 peak users. The interesting factoid there is for the students, the peak usage occurs about 2 a.m. And I'm not joking about that. we were a little surprised about that when we turned on the monitoring tools the first time. Healthcare side, not quite as large in terms of the deployment, but likely to grow in the future, about 680 access points there. We've also rolled out our first two iPhone applications that we built in-house and have now built up some internal expertise on that front. But we're clearly in the early stages here. We don't have a large dedicated group focused on mobility. We know it's going to be a growing area, and we're investing more resources in it. Another interesting point, we no longer have phones in the residence halls for students. Got rid of those some time ago. So really the mobile device, we survey the students, we know that 99.99% of them have mobile devices. We give students the opportunity to request a phone if they want, and I think it's indicative of how mobile-centric the world is for them that we've had in the last 3 years 2 requests for landlines. On the healthcare side, the big acronym you'll hear a lot about these days is RTLS, Real-Time Location Services. I've spent some time on a variety of advisory groups. I can tell you that most folks aren't doing RTLS with Wi-Fi right now. In terms of the granularity that you need for location, they're having to use other standards, particularly as you start to get within the patient room. On the collaboration side, we're very interested in taking advantage of these converged communication devices, bringing in both audio, video, the ability to bring up an image of a patient, get a quick consult, and have a visual data to go along with the auditory or whatever's in the chart. And then the final thing is our physicians and everyone else at Emory seems to be mad about iPads, right? They want every single application that we offer available on an iPad, and they wanted it yesterday.
Next, I'm going to introduce Mickey Haynes. Mickey Haynes. Now, I'm going to read the bio. I told you he had a big head, right? Because I'm going to read exactly what it says in the bio that I was given. He develops enterprise-level architectural platforms and infrastructure that are necessary to deliver both internal enterprise mobile solutions and external customer-facing mobile commerce solutions. As far as I can figure, that means that if the checkout stand doesn't work or if you can't get cell phone reception in the Home Depot, it's Mickey's fault. He is going to tell us he's worked on mobile applications at both Symbol and Microsoft, and he's been doing that for the last 15 years. And also, whereas these guys come to us from the frozen north, Mickey is a homegrown, and I feel a certain affinity to him because he played baseball and football for the University of Georgia. Is that right, Mickey?
Yeah, I've been doing mobile commerce and mobile applications for a long time, about 15 years. And you know, the last couple of years have been really exciting, and I think we're really just at the verge of the beginning of the mobile revolution. And I know that because we have an internship program at Home Depot where we had a couple of Georgia students come over a couple of weeks ago, and actually they built better mobile commerce applications than the Georgia Tech intern students who were over here a couple of weeks ago. So
shut up. Okay, y'all shut up.
That's right. So go Dogs. It sounds like there are plenty of tech guys in the audience. Consumer-grade devices are gaining more capabilities. We're also seeing a trend, and I'm sure you are as well, that more and more employees are wanting to bring their own devices to work. It might be an iPhone, it might be an Android, it might be an iPod, or an iPad, rather. But you're going to continue to see that, I think. There are a lot of other new devices that we're going to see come into the market over the next year, and really we're just at the beginning of that. Talking about kind of the categories of mobile applications that we look at when we're talking about enterprise strategy. First, we have the internal applications. We do a lot of devices, a lot of applications that run inside of our network. You may have seen we did a press release a few months back. We're rolling out about 50,000 Motorola MC75s this year in all of our stores. If you go into a store this Christmas, you should be able to witness this technology. You'll see an associate carrying an MC75. They'll have some customer service applications on it. They'll be able to scan a product and get you information on that product or find it in another store if it's not available. Now the iPhone has proven that people actually will browse to a website on a mobile. Android's got a great mobile browser. Windows Phone 7 has a great mobile browser. So I think you're going to have a pretty giant chunk of the population here in the U.S. alone that are going to have much better browsers on their mobile phones. So I think it's time to go back and relook a thin client strategy and make sure that that's a part of what you're trying to do if you're a retailer or if you have to have a customer-facing solution. One of the other things you have to consider when you're doing enterprise mobile strategy is you have to look at back office connectivity. You can build the coolest mobile application, but if it can't talk to anything in the back office, you're not going anywhere. It can be very difficult. I've learned at Home Depot it's far more difficult than it was in smaller companies to really develop web services and get them outside the four walls. That can be quite problematic and can cost you a lot more than you anticipate if you don't really know what you're doing if you're doing it the first time. So what's a MEEP? Basically, at the core, you'll hear about a lot of MEEPs. There's a lot of information out there on the web now about MEEPs, but essentially at the core, all MEEPs are designed to move data. They're going to move data from the back office to the device. Some do it better than others, but that's essentially what they do. I want it to look like an iPhone application on iPhone. I want it to look like an Android application on Android. I want it to look like a Windows Phone 7 application on Windows Phone 7, and same with BlackBerry. And so maybe the right once run everywhere doesn't work in that scenario. So it depends on you when you look at this, on your answer, which MEEPs you might select. The other thing is when you do decide on a MEEP, just be real careful. You put a MEEP in there, it really is a marriage for life. It becomes your cornerstone for building your house.
Bob has worked not only at Delta, but he's also worked with Target, with Ford Motor, and has been working on an awful lot of ways that he can implement this technology. He's a graduate of MIT, so welcome, Bob Cuppins from Delta.
I want to start a little bit differently. I just want to start with a quiz, okay? And the quiz is, why does mobile matter to Delta? Okay, so we've done extensive research on the answers to these questions. So what % of customers in either the purchase or consumptions of Delta's products are mobile? Oh, of course, everybody, man. They're in travel. They're moving somewhere, right? Right? Everybody's mobile. All right, what % of customers enjoy waiting in line to talk to a ticket agent at a counter? Exactly, 0. Perfect. And what % of customers have seen ads on social, mobile, or internet channels? 40? No, it's 100%. It has to be, right? And so we're going to talk just for a few minutes about customer mobility, about team member mobility, and about advertising mobility. So we are going on the path of native apps. So this is iPhone 1.0 came out 1st of September. A lot of great features. I hope you try it out and download it. I guess, Bob, you already have used our mobile boarding pass embedded within the app. Very exciting. We've got a pretty extensive roadmap coming on the iPhone. So what's next? It's like decision time here, you know, and you're placing bets in places that you don't know how it's going to materialize. And so, you know, BlackBerry, I mean, one argument is it's dead, right? Another argument is that we know that 40% of our Medallion members carry BlackBerries. And so we can't ignore that. Not only that, the CEO carries a BlackBerry, so we can't ignore that either. Richard has said to me personally, he's like, when are we going to have the BlackBerry app? I'm like, soon, really? So actually, BlackBerry's on the list. Android, of course, right? I mean, what is it? The growth surpassed iPhone at some point. I'm not sure exactly what the stat is, but you start going down the list, and there's this proliferation of devices. So whether it's WebOS, you know, if Palm gets itself resurrected someday, or Windows Mobile. I mean, you guys are working at Microsoft on that. Obviously, a lot of good work going on. But it's not just about mobile phones, right? It's also about tablets. It's about other form factors, so iPad certainly, but Chrome, you guys aware of Chrome, right? So not what's next, right? See what's next, but what's really next. This on the left, when I ask my mom, right, and she's 70, and I say like, hey, what does it mean when you have all the information in the palm of your hand? Like that's what she thinks, right? Which is like that you wrote your grocery list right on your hand. And actually, I bought my mom an iPhone, and she's getting better. And you can't really see this. It's unfortunate. The resolution is not good. But if you Google the TED Talk around 6 Sense, I don't know, maybe a lot of you guys have seen this, your interface can be anywhere over time. Over time, you're going to be connected everywhere. I mean, and this is the theory behind Chrome, right? The Google guys are going like, well, you're going to be connected everywhere. Your data's in the cloud, right? And you don't need a lot of processing power. And so, why build a big, like, complicated machine? Build an easy, simple machine. Right here, do you want, for 50 bucks, can I just have your credit card and swipe it right now? Right? At the end of the day, do we ever need a ticket counter again? Right? Do we ever need a kiosk, right? It's your own device. We put the power in your hand as a customer. And for those things that are like exceptions, we've got mobile, wireless-enabled team members running around going to solve your problem. And so this is the idea of where I think mobility can take not just the airline, but customer service in general. And so the idea of putting people back in control through mobility, because when you're traveling and your flight gets canceled or it's delayed, you don't know you're going to make your connection. By the way, our mobile app works on the Wi-Fi in the plane without having to buy a subscription, right? So all of a sudden, I can figure out, like, I'm going to miss my connection. Oh, there's my rebooking options. Great. Not available today. But in the future, putting the passenger and putting our customers in control is where we need to be. And so I think that's an important part of our strategy. All right, so I'm going to switch into enabled team members. Apple Store clearly sets the standard. You guys are familiar with this. There is no better experience, I think, and I'm kind of an Apple geek anyway. I don't know if you saw my MacBook Pro over there. This is what Nielsen Media says, not about advertising, digital advertising, but about advertising in general. And yet everything that they talk about is about digital. So optimizing media convergence, which basically means, how do you think about leveraging cross channels and integration of messages, new models, taking advantage of smartphones, cross media ad campaigns, right? Everybody's seen like viral this and integrated that, and of course you're cookied, right? So if it's like if it's like here on your phone and you see something, or if you search on the web, you're cookied so that when you go to some other site, you're like, what? 170 million people a year travel to 350 destinations or what? I mean, it's amazingly global. So how do we target folks as they're moving around the world is an interesting problem. With relevant content though, right? Not the Ottomans. Right? It's what they want and what's going to be relevant and interesting for them. And then how does all of that add up to build a brand? Put the customer in control and then let people know that Delta's got your back. Right? Travel's like a pain. You guys know that. And so how do we start to solve those problems? So that's me. Thanks.
All right. The deal is that I get to ask questions first, and then we'll open it up for everybody else to ask questions in a few minutes, okay? But the first question I got to ask you guys is, do you feel loved? I mean, because here, when we start to talk about wireless now, we start to talk about mobility, it's become an expectation, hasn't it? When you think about, Richard, when you think about what a student expects when they go away to school, now that feat of technology masterminding to build wireless throughout their dorms, they take it for granted, don't they? And people now, really expect to be connected on the airplanes. And now, when we're in Home Depot, we expect to have that kind of, we're going to develop more of an expectation. So, and I get this vision, I love your image of the airline clerk as being like the Apple cool rep. I can just see this Apple cool rep model working at Home Depot, right? Where they'll be wearing those T-shirts and looking really hot and everything else. Because I'm going to ask you, Facebook has got this new technology that they call Like. Have you seen Like? Mm-hmm. Where you get to go out there and say something that you like. All right, first of all, what device have you got there?
That's a Windows Phone 7.
Windows. All right, give him a hand. Right, he's a brave man. All right, because clearly the Apple dude, the Delta dude, has got an iPhone 4, correct?
iPhone 4.
Give our panelists a hand.